Tracy Sabol tonight on EWTN News Nightly. Power of the President. Joe Biden reduces sentences for around 1,500 people under home confinement while issuing dozens of pardons. We have a report and reaction. A familiar ring. For the second time, President-elect Donald Trump is named Time Magazine's Person of the Year. Pro-life hospitality. Learn more about a woman who offers help to pregnant women at the U.S. southern border. Plus, the light of the world. We speak to a deacon who's becoming known around the country for his Christmas light displays. These stories and more tonight.
From EWTN, the Global Catholic Network, this is EWTN News Nightly.
Thanks for being with us on the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Our top story today, President Joe Biden says America was built on the promise of possibility and second chances. And today, the president confirmed that he is commuting the sentences of roughly 1,500 people and pardoning 39 others. The White House calls it the largest single-day act of clemency in modern history. White House correspondent Owen Jensen reports. Owen.
Tracy, White House lawyers say today that those pardoned had been convicted of nonviolent crimes such as drug offenses and turned their lives around.
As he prepares to leave office, President Joe Biden announces dozens of pardons and writes, "I am also commuting the sentences of nearly 1,500 people who are serving long prison sentences, many of whom would receive lower sentences if charged under today's laws, policies, and practices." White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre addressed reporters.
The Americans receiving relief today include a decorated military veteran, a nurse who has led response for a number of natural disasters, and an addiction counselor who volunteers his time to help young people. That's just to name a few.
The move comes after President Biden pardoned his son Hunter, who is prosecuted for gun and tax crimes. The pardon causing an uproar, and something an AP NORC poll shows only 2 in 10 Americans approved of. Meanwhile, U.S. Catholic bishops urge the president to commute all current federal death sentences to terms of imprisonment before his term ends, adding they have long called for an end to the use of the death penalty. Meanwhile, President-elect Donald Trump may also extend the list of pardons as soon as he takes office. He told NBC his supporters who were punished for January 6 are living in hell. Others want Trump to pardon the pro-lifers who were put behind bars. Also today, Trump was honored as Time's Person of the Year. He recognized the honor at an event in New York.
I have to say, Time Magazine getting this honor for the second time. I think I like it better this time, actually.
The president-elect rang the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange. Trump talked about his different meetings with billionaires Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg and said next week he's meeting with Jeff Bezos. Zuckerberg's company, Meta, just committed $1 million to help fund the presidential inauguration. In addition, Trump invited Chinese President Xi Jinping to the inauguration, but it's not clear if he will attend.
Now, back to the pardons. President Biden says he will take more steps in the weeks ahead to continue reviewing clemency petitions. At the White House, Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly.
All right, thank you, Owen. And for more, let's bring in Bobby Eberle, Republican strategist and Republican Party chairman in Fort Bend County in Texas. Bobby, great to have you back on. A lot to talk about, but first, I want to get your thoughts on what the White House is calling the largest single-day act of clemency in modern history.
Yes, and thanks, Tracy. It's good to be here. And yeah, this is astounding what was going on. 1,500 clemencies and 39 of full pardons. It's a huge day, and you just have to wonder, where does Biden go from here? Because the White House released in some of its statement that these were mostly nonviolent offenders. Well, Hunter Biden falls into that. Those were nonviolent offenses, and we saw what a kind of a bogus deal that is. And as your lead-in showed, 2 in 10 support that pardon. So it's a big dump of information all at once, and people need time to kind of digest this and sift through it, and handpicking a few people that to show that this was good. Maybe it's hiding something underneath with so many people getting so many sentences commuted, or the 39 pardons. I think it needs more investigation. Nothing we can do about it, but it kind of will reveal, what Biden's intent was on these last few days in office.
Yeah, Bobby, you mentioned Hunter Biden's pardon and, of course, spurring backlash from both sides of the aisle. Do you think that had any influence on him granting this mass clemency today?
Well, I do. I think this is going to show again his personality and, what they're talking about, what they've been saying from the perspective of the DOJ regarding Hunter Biden is that he did this because he was targeted and we weren't going to do it. We said no. Karine Jean-Pierre said no over and over again, but something changed, and what the something is that they feel that the DOJ was somehow weaponized. So I wonder if in Biden's last month he's actually going to investigate the DOJ and maybe investigate Merrick Garland. I doubt it, but the hypocrisy and the standards that he set are kind of tying himself in a knot there. But again, the Hunter Biden case has made such outrage because for people that have really followed it, you see that the charges brought against him were in an effort to diminish or sidetrack from the real charges. These were brought up to actually give him a break. And the fact that he went through conviction is what got everyone on the Biden side startled, and we got to do something about it. But yeah, I seriously wonder what he's going to do. And the big thrust, the big concern is that these preemptive pardons on people that might be investigated, such as people in his own family or inner circle, that's what we have to really keep our eye on.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about that. Also, there's speculation that some folks on the January 6th committee, as well as Dr. Anthony Fauci, may be preemptively pardoned. Do you think that's something that's really on the table? And is that something that has ever happened before, pardoning someone who hasn't even been charged or convicted?
Well, unfortunately, this is an area of concern, and there is precedent. Gerald Ford pardoned Richard Nixon before there were any real formal charges. The impeachment was building up. It didn't look like his support in the Senate could lead to conviction, so he resigned. But for the sake of the country moving forward, Gerald Ford pardoned Richard Nixon. And these preemptive pardons, so that has happened in the past. But when you see what we went through with COVID and you see what we went through with the lockdowns and this corruption that is bubbling to the surface once we've kind of freed up social media to actually tell the truth and not be censored, those deserve investigations, and justice needs to be done. And so to preemptively pardon these people and skirt the justice system would truly be the other side of weaponizing the DOJ and using and abusing Biden's pardoning power.
Oh, Bobby, all right. Thank you so much for your insights. Always appreciate it.
Yes, great to be here.
All right, Secretary of State Antony Blinken is making a last-ditch push for stability in the Middle East. He is one of the several top U.S. officials returning to the region, and he says one of the focal points of his trip is to assist the people of Syria during this time of transition.
We're back in the region at a time of both real promise, but also peril for Syria and for its neighbors. And the focus of our work here is to coordinate efforts across the region to support the Syrian people as they transition away from Assad's brutal dictatorship.
Now, Blinken spent the day in Jordan saying that the U.S. will try to prevent anyone from putting their self-interests ahead of the Syrian people. This comes amid Israel's push into a demilitarized buffer zone between the Golan Heights and Syria. Meanwhile, U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as the U.S. makes a push for an Israeli ceasefire with Hamas. Meanwhile, in Syria, an American who says he traveled to the country on a Christian pilgrimage is now free after spending 7 months in prison. Travis Timmerman claims that he was detained after crossing into the country on foot for religious reasons. He seems to be among the thousands released from prison after the overthrow of the Assad regime. Court records indicate that he was from Missouri. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says the U.S. is working to bring him home. House Republicans are claiming victory on a number of policies in the latest military funding bill. The 1,800-page National Defense Authorization Act gives more than $895 billion to defense and national security. The measure is also drawing praise from pro-life Republicans. Capitol Hill correspondent Eric Rosales joins us now with that here in the studio. Eric.
Well, good evening, Tracy. It's great to be here. Republicans say that the 2025 NDAA will end the radical woke agenda being forced on our servicemen and women and restore the focus on our military lethality. Junior enlisted troops will see a significant pay bump, but it works also to eliminate DEI, which stands for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion programs at the Pentagon, and address so-called gender-affirming care for minors. The Speaker of the House says it's a major victory.
The NDAA, there's a number of pro-life provisions. How do we get those across the finish line?
We're working on that aggressively, and I think the NDAA is a good final product. We took care of a lot of those concerns, so we'll see.
Speaker Johnson added language to prevent the military's health program, TRICARE, from covering gender-affirming surgeries for transgender children of service members. House Democrats say they want transgender rights protected.
We have an outright ban on care that undoubtedly is saving lives of minors experiencing gender dysphoria and the anxiety and depression and suicidal thoughts that come with that. We are doing it because of ignorant, bigoted reasons against the trans community.
Provisions allowing the DoD to pay for travel expenses for service women to get an abortion remain, as does the Department of Veteran Affairs' ability to provide abortions in certain circumstances. The House Democratic leader is calling it a win.
The attacks on reproductive freedom have been removed, and the attacks on diversity, equity, and inclusion have been removed, and that's a victory for the values important to the American people that Democrats strongly support.
Some Republicans tell me it's too expensive.
$9 billion additional dollars. Where's that money going to come from? Over $500 million going to foreign aid. That's what America voted against. And again, we're just putting ourselves further and further in debt.
The bill now goes to the Senate, where the incoming majority leader is optimistic that it's going to pass next week.
As you know, anytime we do a national defense authorization bill, or for that matter, any appropriation bill on some of the pro-life positions, but our side has fought vigorously to make sure that the pro-life provisions in the bill are strong and that the Democrats don't weaken those.
Speaker Johnson says that by banning transgender surgeries, freezing DEI hiring, and eliminating obsolete weapons systems, some $31 billion can be saved. And more changes could be coming soon. President-elect Donald Trump can use executive orders to alter laws passed by Congress. Tracy?
All right. Thank you so much, Eric. Great to see you. Well, officials in Southern California say that progress is finally being made amid the wildfires that erupted earlier this week, forcing thousands of people from their homes. The National Weather Service issued an air quality alert warning millions of residents in the Los Angeles County to keep their windows and doors closed. The Franklin fire has hit the Malibu area, and despite the progress, around 20,000 residents are under evacuation orders. All right, now to the East Coast, where weather conditions are also tricky there due to an atmospheric river and a developing cyclone. Ohio, Maine, and the Carolinas saw heavy rain, melting snow, and wind gusts. Millions of people are under flood watches. Some counties in New York and Great Lake communities saw their third lake effect snowstorm. Flights and train schedules were heavily impacted. And we have a lot more still to come here on EWTN News Nightly, including life on the line. Though the U.S.-Mexico border can be a very dangerous place, we speak to a woman behind the movement to provide life-affirming care to those in danger. And as we approach the World Day of Peace, Pope Francis is asking the nations of the world to make a grand gesture. We'll explain. Government figures show that euthanasia is becoming a major driver of deaths in Canada. According to new numbers, in 2023, euthanasia led to more than 15,000 deaths, accounting for around 1 out of every 20 deaths in the North American country. It also marks an increase of nearly 16% from 2022. Well, south of Canada, on the U.S. southern border, shelters for pregnant migrant women and children are providing life-affirming care. Casa Maris in El Paso, Texas, and Stellar Shelter in Juarez, Mexico, provide safe havens to pregnant women, children, and vulnerable migrant mothers along the Texas-Mexico border who are fleeing harsh conditions in their home countries and hoping to seek asylum here in the United States. And joining us now is Karina Braceda, pro-life activist and co-founder of Stellar Shelter and Casa Maris. Karina, great to be with you today. I know today is a really special day for you all, especially with it being the feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe, who is not only Mexico's patron saint, but also the patroness of the unborn. Quickly tell us how you all celebrated today.
So we have a tradition that we sing Los Mañanitas to Our Lady. We wake up early and we take her mariachi, and in the afternoon we're going to have matachina, so we're going to dance for her. Really excited, so we have our whole regalia ready.
That's so beautiful. Let's talk more specifically about the shelters now. We mentioned who you help, but can you talk to us a little bit more about that and also the services that you provide to these women and children?
So we want to provide life-affirming accompaniment and, you know, of all the various things that women need in pregnancy, what people have said over and over again, that I'm afraid to do this alone. And especially in their journey and their coming, you know, just all the situations that they come across, and knowing that there's somebody there that's going to be there when it comes time to give birth, and through the process of lactation and through, you know, the newborn stages. That has really been the difference in women saying, I feel really confident in this decision that we made.
Yeah. What called you to do this type of work?
I'm a mother, but I'm also El Paso and Juarez is my community. We see it as one big city. And during the migrant crisis, there was just so much need. And I saw so many women and children and babies. And I grew up in the pro-life movement, and it just seemed like the natural transition. Like there's women there, and this is what the pro-life movement does.
Yeah. Can you paint a picture for us from your own experience about the situation at the border, especially for these women that you serve?
So, you know, these past 4 years have been particularly difficult, even in, you know, the other migrant activists that we talk about on how different addressing the situation has been. I do think that there's so many vulnerable people that are, you know, being forgotten and excluded in just the conversation around this.
Yeah, and how has it been, I don't know if you can talk about this, but how has it been since you've been operating these shelters for the past few years under the Biden administration? And what do you anticipate things being like in this new incoming Trump administration? Do you think things will change at all?
So, you know, in calling for this mission, I think that it doesn't matter, you know, who's in the administration, the people over politics. It has been just a different shift in the attitudes towards speaking about the issue, because people think, oh, there's a Democratic administration, so you know, if you're pro-migrant, you know, let's not talk about the issue. It's like a result, but the same needs are there, the same people coming are there, and the same our brothers and sisters are there. So I think it's really important that we see that we are our brother's keeper, and we focus on that.
Yeah, you help so many people, and I know sometimes you need help as well, because obviously this is a nonprofit, and you got a really nice surprise today that's really going to help everyone that you serve. Tell us about that.
So we're really excited. I can't believe that we're going to get a border vehicle, because we do a lot of outreach to the tent encampments and humanitarian aid, and a lot of that means going into the Rio Grande and going into the river, and to have a truck, like we're going to take water, and if anybody needs, we used to take like monthly donations of diapers or food or anything that might be needed. So, and it's coming today on the Feast of Our Lady. It feels kind of, it feels like it's from her.
That is so wonderful. And Karina, if folks are interested in learning more about the shelters, possibly helping, where can they get more information?
You can go to borderlifeinternational.com, and then it'll just have a little bit of information about what we do. And then there's going to be a link to like updates for a newsletter that we have, just you know, the perspective that we have on the border.
Well, Karina, thank you so much for coming on and sharing all this with us, and thank you for what you do. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Up next on EWTN News Nightly, a truly illuminating experience. We talk to the Catholic deacon behind these elaborate light displays. Hear the spiritual message at the heart of the decorations. Plus, Pope Francis has a big ask for all nations, what he's proposing they do ahead of the World Day of Peace. Today marks 44 years since Mother Angelica founded the Eternal Word Television Network on December 12th, 1980. The network officially launched on air 8 months later in August of 1981. EWTN has grown to become the largest religious media network in the world, all thanks to Mother Angelica's amazing vision. January 1st is not just New Year's Day at the Vatican. It also represents World Day of Peace. And this year, one church leader says the Holy Father's message will center on hope.
Pope Francis invites us, the whole human family, to disarm our hearts. Concretely, he proposes 3 urgent gestures of détente and peace. To forgive the foreign debt. The other gestures of détente and peace are to eliminate the death penalty and to establish a global fund to eradicate world hunger.
Well, the Holy Father says that we are all debtors to God and to one another. And this year's World Day of Peace includes a reference to Pope St. John Paul II, who used the Jubilee year 2000 to ask governments to cancel the debts of those who could not repay them. Well, finally, tonight, a Catholic deacon in California is doing what he can to brighten up everybody's Christmas. Deacon Dave Resendez, affectionately called Deacon Dave, has built elaborate light displays every Christmas since 1982. And these are pictures right here from his brilliant decorations. Aren't they wonderful? Every year, he and his team decorate the front yard and roof of his house and invite all those to enjoy this amazing show. And we are happy to have him on our show today. Deacon Dave, good to be with you today. We appreciate it. So tell us, what inspired you to do these elaborate light displays?
I wanted to do something for people of all faiths in promoting the spirit of Christmas. After all, it's about the birth of Jesus, and it doesn't matter whatever the theme is. I do change the theme every year, but there have always been a religious message scattered throughout the entire display. This year, all 902,127 lights are dedicated. Each light is dedicated as a prayer for world peace.
That is just beautiful. Tell us about some of the other themes that you've had in years past.
We've had certainly City of David. That was all religious. We handmade our camels on site, the 3 kings, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. We did a whole town of Bethlehem. We even had the scene of King Herod and the wise men going before him asking where the newborn king is. And it's just amazing the number of people that come through. It's also, I call it the Ministry of Lights, because in my top pocket, I have these cards. And it's amazing the number of people that have actually come to me when I'm reading at the door over the years. And they said, I'm a fallen away Catholic. I'd like to come back. And what do I have to do? So I take a card out and ask them to print their name and phone number. And after Christmas, then I'm able to contact them and get them back into the church.
That is incredible, Deacon Dave. I know that you've had even some marriage proposals there and possibly somebody said a miracle.
Well, I'm not sure about the miracle. I do know that I was summoned to the door by one of the people, one of the volunteers at the door, and said that a couple want to see me. And so I went to the door and they were holding up this child. And they said, "You don't recognize us, do you?" And I said, "No." And they said, "Well, last year we asked you to bless our baby that had terminal brain tumor and had 6 months to live. And because of the blessing, the tumor has vanished. They haven't got an explanation for it. And you did a wonderful..." And I said, no, I didn't do anything. It's through God if anything happened, not me. And I said, as a deacon, priests and deacons can give blessings, and that's what you asked for, and that's what I did. So, praise God that the tumor vanished. Proposal Bridge, the people come through and they walk over Proposal Bridge, and there's a double waterfall that it pours out 230 gallons a minute. Proposal Bridge is quite famous. We had the most recent wedding proposal for this season, bringing to total 83 marriage proposals on the bridge over the years.
Deacon Dave, that's beautiful.
Thank you. I've done a couple of the weddings myself. Some of them, I've referred back to their pastors and their churches for appropriate mass to be said and so forth.
Deacon Dave, I could talk to you all day long, but I know I have to wrap it up. But I have a really quick question for you. With all of those lights, who pays your electric bill, Deacon Dave?
I do.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I make sure I'm sitting down when I open TV. And but we do get some donations that go to Santa's Secret Service. I'm Secretary General of that organization. It was founded 63 years ago through St. Michael's, and we get gifts for wrapped gifts. We purchase them and get them wrapped for people in hospitals, rest homes, youth homes, care centers, and so forth. So we gave out roughly 2,000 gifts this year alone.
Wow, Deacon Dave, you are incredible. You are a gift. Thank you for talking to us, and thank you for spreading the Christmas joy. God bless you.
God bless all of your viewers.
And we thank you for watching tonight. Remember, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, X, and Instagram at EWTN News Nightly. I'm Tracy Sabol. Good night, and God bless.